Life often confronts us with the consequences of moral failure, irresponsibility, and selfishness. These traits can break relationships, damage trust, and lead to lasting regret. Whether through neglecting our duties, acting out of self-interest, or choosing what is easy over what is right, such choices leave a mark. Yet even in the midst of failure, there remains the possibility of growth, redemption, and change if we are willing to face our wrongs and take responsibility. I'm Dr. Ray, and welcome to this week's Hosea International Speaks. Chapter 28 begins with Judah leaving the confines of the clan and trek out on his own. He remains in the land, though, of Canaan, but he takes a wife outside of the family by marrying a Canaanite woman. It might be that he left because it was Judah who had suggested that they sell Joseph unto slavery, and so maybe the guilt had come upon him. If this chapter had not been included, there might have been a gap in the lineage of Jesus Christ because of what Judah did, in which the line continued through Perez, the son of Judah, by Tamar. We can see that in chapter 1 of Matthew, verse 3. Who was Tamar? Well, Tamar was the daughter-in-law of Judah. After the death of the first two sons, Judah refused to give Tamar his third son in marriage, which, according to the Levirate duty, he was obligated to do so. But Judah was not out to lose a third son. We can see that in chapter 38, verse 11 of Genesis. Tamar then devises a trap in which she portrayed herself as a harlot and tricked Judah into going to bed with her. And then she in turn conceived and gave birth to twins. We can see that in Genesis chapter 38, verse 27, in which the lineage of Abraham continued, but it did not come through the one whose hands came out first, but through the one who, quote, made a breach for yourself. We can see that in Genesis chapter 38, verse 29. The Hebrew word here for breach is the word Perez. It means to burst forth, to break through. It tells of a breaching of the riverbank, causing the waters to overflow and spread. This breach may even cause flooding if not contained by increasing in volume. Merriam-Webster defines breach as a gap, as in a wall, made by battering. In other words, continuous banging against it. The birth of Perez is important in that he is mentioned in the book of Ruth, chapter 3, verse 18. Now it says this, now these are the generation of Perez, in which David, king of Israel, would come. If it seems as if Perez made his way through by taking control of the situation in the womb, breaking through all obstacles in his way, that's exactly what he did. There was a temporary gap in continuity, or that's the way Merriam-Webster defines it, a temporary gap in continuity. Perez saw the gap, took the opportunity to come into this world first. This may reveal the coming forth of Jesus Christ into the world by taking it by force, the opportunity which was afforded him by his father, Yahweh. What also comes up in this portion of Scripture, which is not spoken of here, is the Levirate duty, or the Levirate, however you want to pronounce it, which is when a man marries a woman, dies before he has a male heir, then his brother has the duty of producing a male heir. Without going into this practice too much, which is rarely observed today by almost all of the Jewish community, but the practice of Helitza is what is used today. Helitza, what is that? Is performed when the surviving brother and the widow appear before a rabbinical court. A ritual is performed where the woman removes his sandal, the one who's supposed to marry her, spits. But now, I'm sure they don't spit today in the face of them, but that's what they did then. They would spit in the face, in which is not observed today. Literally, they're not spitting in the face. They probably spit toward the ground or somewhere. And then she recites a formula officially releasing both from the obligation. After the halitza, the woman is freed to marry whomever she chooses. We see halitza performed now in the book of Ruth when Boaz takes Ruth to be his wife and to raise up a line for Naomi through Ruth from the line of Perez. With all this coming into view, we see just how important the birth of Perez, son of Judah, through Tamar was. Now, let's note something about Tamar, the wife. Ancient rabbinical literature has provided us a key piece of information regarding Tamar's identity. It seems that Tamar was the daughter of Shem, the son of Noah. Shem was a priest, and when Tamar was charged with fornication, she was condemned to be burned to death in conformity with Levi, or the Levitical priesthood, or from the book of Leviticus, chapter 21, verse 9. Therefore, she was not a Canaanite woman, as some might have thought. And also, because she was of the line of Shem, through Tamar, Judah produced sons who would carry out the covenant line of promise. It's a very good possibility that Judah went to the lineage of Shem purposely to obtain a wife for his firstborn son. The scripture says of Judah in Genesis chapter 38, let's look at that verse, and Judah took, the word took, a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. The word took means to acquire or even to purchase. Judah might have gone to the expense of obtaining a wife for and to keep the family in line or in the lineage, which might be the reason Yahweh brought punishment on Judah's son, the first one and the second one. Well, then you might ask, what does this chapter have to say to me? Let's look at two, maybe three things that this chapter is saying to us today. It has to deal with human brokenness and moral failure. The story is full of deception, lust, abandonment of responsibility, and selfishness. Judah, one of the patriots of Israel, behaves shamefully, marrying a foreigner, mistreating his daughter-in-law, and engaging in prostitution. Even the patriots were vulnerable to what awaited them in life. We're going to face the same things, the same temptations, trials, and tests. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4 says this, "My brethren, though, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, trials, and tests." The word fall into means to be surrounded by the various temptations, trials, and tests, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, or let patience be complete. Let it go its full round, that you may be allowed to go full round, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. How are we going to come through these same temptations, trials, and tests? Will we react to these trials, or will we act according to the word? Well, we're going to leave it right there, and we'll pick it up next week when we return to the story of Joseph and how he is doing in the land of Egypt. Well, if you enjoyed this session, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you still have not subscribed, do it now. So when we go on, and the next time we go live, you will be notified on YouTube. You will be immediately notified. If you have any questions, let me say this too. If you have a certain portion of scripture that needs explaining to you, that might be needing clarity for you, you can write me here at Hosea International at yahoo.com or Hosea INT speaks at gmail.com. If you wish to give, you can still scan one of the 2 QR codes on your screen. I'm Dr. Ray, and I'll see you next week on Hosea International Speaks.